In this video we will go through the program step by step using the provided sample Excel file to fill out the sample PDF form that is also provided. Before that, let's take a look at the basic functioning of the program. In short, the program works by taking a data source, such as an Excel file, and assigning the individual columns of this table to the form fields in the PDF. The program then goes through this Excel file line by line and inserts the data of the lines into the corresponding fields and saves a separate PDF file for each of these lines. It saves the time of tediously filling out the same PDF forms by hand and gives you the ability to quickly make changes to hundreds or thousands of PDFs at once with small changes to the Excel file or formulas it contains. Now let's start with the program. The program welcomes with the start page where a small text awaits us, which again refers to the documentation and points to the sample configuration. Also, below we find the possibility of license activation, updating the program, as well as other options for the program. Further down the page on the left we find the documentation and legal information. At the bottom there is a button to write to the support in case of program errors, followed by the possibility to load a configuration or to save the current configuration. Clicking on Next will take us to the next page in the program. On this page we select the data source from which we want to obtain our data to fill in the PDF form. In this example, we will select the data source type for Excel files. However, let's take a look at the Excel file itself first. For Excel files, note that the program reads column names in the first row of the Excel file until it encounters an empty cell. This means that if the first column in your Excel file should be free, no data will be recognized because the program will stop reading immediately. Likewise, the program stops reading in lines when a completely empty line is found, even if there were filled lines again afterwards. We now select the Excel file just shown as the data source. The program recognizes the tables in the Excel file and automatically selects the first one. Information about the selected table, such as the number of recognized columns and rows, is now displayed, as well as a preview of the first 100 rows of your Excel file. Now that the sample data has been loaded correctly, we can go to the next step in the program by clicking Next. On this page, the PDF form must be loaded first, which is to be filled in. To do this, we take the example form provided. After the PDF form is loaded, general information is displayed first, such as the number of recognized PDF form fields and which document type the form has. Then, in the bottom left corner of the page, we can see the PDF preview in which all the assignments made are shown with the data of the first row of the data source as an example. To the right is the assignment to the data. A distinction is made between normal fields that are already in the PDF form and additional special fields that can still be added. Let's start with the normal fields. Each form field has a name assigned by the PDF creator and has a specific field type. In the following we will go through the most common field types and fill the corresponding fields with data. Starting with the first field, which has the field type text box and thus may contain normal text. Click on Edit to open the data assignment window. In this we are shown again the name of the form field in PDF as well as the type. Below that we find the option to apply a write protection to the field so that it cannot be changed later by third parties. Then follows the actual data assignment itself. No data source is currently selected there. We now have the option to either select a column from our Excel file or to select a constant text for all PDF files. For this field we take the data source because in it we have a column that we have intended for the field. After we have assigned the data, we confirm this with OK. We now see that the data of the first row of the selected column is in the corresponding field. Likewise, on the right in the listing of normal fields, we see that the field has been assigned the appropriate column. We now continue with the second field, but this time, we want to write protect it. After the assignment, the preview on the left now shows that the field is read only as desired and thus cannot be edited by third parties in the future. Let's fill in all the other text box fields in fast motion. The following form field has the field type radio button, and thus consists of 3 elements of which only one can be selected. To fill such a field, a number must be specified. In this case, it would be 1 for the first of the 3 elements, 2 for the second, and 3 for the third. If now, for example, a 4 would be entered, this would lead to an error, since we do not have a 4th element. Next to the error message, we see that the corresponding field has been red marked for easy finding of errors. Once again, we change the field data to a valid value using the sample data from the data source. Next comes a field of type checkbox. This field type accepts only Boolean data, so something like yes and no or 1 and 0. A checkbox can only be checked or not. So we can only fill this field with certain values, which is why we use the column provided for this purpose in the data source. This one says 0 and 1, and yes and no in different languages. Next comes the list box field. This is a list predefined by the creator of the PDF in which we can select something. We choose here once it is constant for all PDF files. Finally, we have a combo box field which behaves similarly to the list box, with the difference that if the PDF creator allows, a custom text can be entered. Once again, we take the data from the data source here. Finally, we come to the special fields. Special fields are not PDF form fields according to the PDF standard, but own elements added by the program. These are e.g. images, hyperlinks, barcodes, additional texts, etc. For a quick demonstration, let's add a QR code as a special field and click Edit. In this somewhat complex window, we must first define the position and size of the QR code. We see that the QR code is to be specified on page 1 and is currently at the 00 position, which corresponds to the top right margin. Likewise, we see that the QR code currently has a size of 1 by 1 pixel. We change this once to 100 by 100 pixels. You can already see in the preview that a pink square has been created. This shows with its signal color, size, and position where the QR code will be seen later. Let's also change the position once to a place where the QR code fits well. Subsequently, we must also provide the QR code with data so that it is also displayed. After closing the window, we see that the QR code has been created in the appropriate place. Now that all the data assignments we wanted to make have been made, we can proceed to the next step. This page is used to specify the file name, the location where the filled PDF files should be saved, and, if necessary, other options, such as global right protection. Let's start with the file name. For this, we need to define a file name generation by stringing together different file name formatting elements. This can be, for example, a constant text, a column from the data source, the line number from the Excel file, or today's date. For example, let's assume that we want to have the first name and last name in the file name. To do this, add both columns from the data source. In the preview fields, we see the file names that would be created for the first 3 lines. Let's sort the formatting elements again so that the file name looks a bit nicer, and maybe add an underscore between the first name and last name. Already much better, but even neater would be the file name with the current date separated by a space. Let's add this for a moment. Now that we are satisfied with the file name, we select an output folder where we want to save the completed PDF files. Let's go to the last page by clicking on Next. On this page again, some information is displayed, like the listing of all PDF files that would be created now. We can individually generate the PDF files for preview with a click on the button in the listing, or create all the files at once. In this case, we complete the entire process by clicking Finish to generate all the files. After the filling of each PDF form is completed, the output folder opens automatically and we can see the created PDF files. Likewise, in the program on the right side we can see that the successfully created files are displayed with a green background in the completion listing. If these were displayed in red, an error would have occurred, e.g. due to incorrect input values, and we would be shown error information. However, in this case everything worked, which we can confirm again by opening one of the created files. The file has been visibly filled in as requested. At the end we can save our settings as a configuration file, so that we can quickly load them again later for the form, if we want to fill it out again with new data. I hope that the video helped you with Bulk PDF Business, and I refer you to the PDF documentation for details such as font customization and signature usage.